military to make gold, and weighs USB drives and the Iron Dome. Israeli salad, Uzi stents, and Jaffa's orange grows. Microchips is us, iPhone cameras us, taco salads us, Bodababamos us, Olive Garden us, White Cloth for us, Sabra Hamas, Hasbara sus.
Hello and welcome to Bad Hasbara, the world's most moral podcast. I am your most moral host, Matt Lieb. Unfortunately, my co-host, Daniel Mate, could not be here today. He has died. It was a terrible plane crash. He didn't die in the plane crash. He was stranded on an island. Him and just a bunch of other passengers, and he died from he died from drinking all their cum. I don't know where I'm going with this. He had a cum overdose, and he is dead now, but he will be back for the next episode. He is traveling, so he couldn't be on this episode. So it's just going to be me today for this very special episode of Bad Hasbara. First, I want to say shout out to producer Adam Levin. It's not just that he's a great producer and a great friend and a great man, but it is also his birthday today. So happy birthday to producer Adam Levin. We love him here on Bad Hasbara. He is always just coming in with funny chyrons and editing and doing all the prep. So God bless you. Love him. Also, unfortunately, we have been once again attacked on one of the Israeli Telegram fucking channels. They are trying to they're trying to remove our stars once again on Spotify. They are going in and they are leaving 1-star reviews and saying we are doing misinformation. And I'm going to need you once again to go and give us 5 stars on Spotify and, on Apple Podcasts and all the apps where you do that. Please. We're doing information, miss. Thank you, Adam. It is, it's weird to have an actual reason for me to tell people to give us 1 stars and review. Usually, I tell people to give us 5 stars and review no matter what. I've done it on all my podcasts, but now I'm like, no, but for real though, we're being attacked. We're being silenced by the Zionist hordes of Telegram. They're trying to destroy us. So please, I don't know, do it if you can. You don't have to. What I would like you to do is also join the Patreon, patreon.com/badhasbara. But before you do that, I would like you to consider today's sponsor and giving your money to them instead. Today's episode is brought to you by the United Palestinian Appeal. The United Palestinian Appeal has worked in Gaza for 45 years and is currently providing critical pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and vaccines in the region. Additionally, they provide farm-aid, clothing, and sleeping bags for families in Gaza. They could use your money more than we could. So please go to uapconnect.org. Donate whatever you can. Anything helps. It is important that people, are thoughtful about where they're putting their money. And at the same time, I also do appreciate people want to listen to bonus episodes of this stupid ass podcast. But unfortunately, this stupid ass podcast doesn't do anything. It doesn't save anybody. It might save your mental health a little bit, which is nice, but not as nice as sleeping bags for literal victims of genocide. So please, upaconnect.org. Donate now. Okay, let's get into this episode. This is a spicy one. This is a real stupid one. We've covered all sorts of shit on this podcast, from, people like Hen Mazig or what's that one? Elika Bonfires of the Vanities, whatever her name was. Hasbaras who have come out of the woodwork to kind of do the job of the Israeli government in terms of PR and spin and stuff. Rarely, I think, have we covered something so internety as today's episode, because today we're going to be doing an episode talking a little bit about a streamer slash podcaster slash internet guy who I've known about for a while, as just kind of a guy you've seen on the internet. His name is Ethan Klein. For those of you who don't know him, he's an influencer, I think. I don't know. I don't even know what you call guys who do YouTube stuff. Like influencers, he's an internet celebrity. And as far as I knew, he had always been kind of non-political, just kind of like a comedy guy, right? Not stand-up or anything, but a guy in front of a mic, podcasting, talking shit. So basically what happened was, in December of last year, before I even started this podcast, some of you know I made some videos making fun of liberal Zionists, right? So here's one of those videos, and I'll play it for you now.
Well, I'm a liberal Zionist, and I have to say that I actually do agree with a lot of what the pro-Palestinian left has to say about Israel. The occupation is awful, and it needs to end. The settlers are crazy, and we have to do something about that. Netanyahu is a criminal. He's going to lead Israel to ruin. The 17-year siege of Gaza has been brutal, and it is completely unconscionable. I agree that Israel is essentially, in parts of it, an apartheid state. But, the one thing is, after the 7th, the thing is that I don't care anymore. I'm bad now. Because, here's the thing. After the 7th, I just kind of realized if it's us or them, then it's got to be us. No more them. I've never thought I could be a fascist, but I think I'm a fascist now. And it's kind of great because I have all these new friends. Me and Amy Schumer and the ugly guy from Stranger Things. And I'm getting all these new job opportunities. And I'm like, okay, if this is what... I didn't know that fascism came with stuff. If I had known that, I'd have been a fascist a long time ago. It's kind of nice, too, because now I get to be like, ooh, I'm bad. So I'm just going to be bad now. I can still believe all that other stuff, too, but just not now. I'm going to wait till later. But for now, I'm going to be bad. Okay. Bye-bye.
So that's the video. Some of you have seen that, and it was at a time before I had done this podcast, right? So as soon as I put that out, I started getting replies from people being like, oh shit, shots fired, Ethan Klein. Oh, this is about Ethan, isn't it? And it got posted on a subreddit that's just Ethan Klein haters, it's crazy. That's how you know you've made it, is if you've got a subreddit dedicated to people talking shit about you. And yeah, it was posted there, and people just were thinking I was doing a parody of him, which wasn't the case. I had no idea why they thought it would be Ethan, because when I was making these videos, I was pulling from conversations that I had been having with people in my life who, despite being proudly progressive or anti-racist or leftist before October 7th, they'd slipped into a pro-Israel Hasbara-pilled frame of mind. So I'd talk to them, and I'd try to see if I could get them to follow their own progressive logic. If racism bad and apartheid bad, then supporting racist apartheid state doing war also bad. And I couldn't get them to see these principles through, and it was very frustrating. I kept hitting this brick wall of perceived anti-Semitism, right? And I couldn't understand the way they could square being I'm anti-racist and I'm pro-Israel, and it just it made me crazy. So I decided to make these videos, because it's the only way I could vent my frustration in a way that other people can understand. And, I had a lot of these ridiculous conversations with people, and, trying to get them to admit basic shit, like Gaza is under occupation. They wouldn't even do that, some of them. And then there was some who would. They would be like, Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is racist. Israel has a right-wing genocidal cabinet. Some people just love razor wire. Thank you, Adam. And they would get that far, but then as soon as it was like, so you should not be supporting this war effort, they'd be like, well, what else can they do? You know, and it drove me insane. Like people were, you know, they cared more about the fear of a possible genocide against the Jewish people while, you know, actual genocide was happening to people in Gaza. So this videos came from those conversations, and I was kind of baffled as to why people thought I was talking about Ethan Klein, because I don't listen to his podcasts, I don't watch his streams, I don't watch streams. I don't understand. I'm old. I don't understand them. They're so long. When do you start watching? Do you just go on and off? Isn't there other stuff to watch? What about The Penguin? It's a pretty good show on HBO. I just don't understand streams. I know they exist. I don't understand them. So I've never really seen his shit before. I've just seen clips. And post October 7th, I kind of thought like Ethan was fine because of some of the clips that I had seen. It seemed like he had like some moral clarity. And I'm going to play some of those clips for you now.
So many Gazan.
This is from October 9th.
They're going to die because of Israel. Because the Israel government is fucking barbaric, genocidal freaks. And I hate them.
Here come the black helicopters.
Fuck, I know. I hear
You criticize Israel.
You know what I mean? The cabinet is run by genocidal maniacs.
This is from October 12th.
They're led by Netanyahu.
By the way, this is from a stream or episode of a show that he used to do with streamer Hassan Piker. Yeah.
Who should resign in disgrace and go to prison for being a war criminal. Okay. He's made a coalition of the most like radically conservative freaks that don't represent, by the way, the majority of Israelis. And they're hellbent on genocide, frankly, overtly. They've committed tons of war crimes in Gaza, including the killing of children, obviously, because Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world. 50% of the residents are under 18. So when you bomb a building, the chances that you're killing children is pretty much 100%.
Adam just wrote, I don't think the White House should have let him stream from there. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. It's fucking barbaric. It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. I've seen videos, you know, I saw videos of Palestinian dads holding his dead like 5-year-old daughter. I mean, and there was another one that like, as a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old.
When I first saw that, you know, again, this was October 12th, I think they said is when that stream was. And to have like December happen, you know, we get to December, I make this, you know, these liberal Zionist videos and people are like, oh, this is Ethan. I was confused. It was like, I don't think you need to worry about your guy, you know, like just based on the people I was talking to, I was like, it seems like he may have whatever reservations, but it seems like he's almost all the way there. Like, I don't know what's going on in that world, and I have no interest in finding out. Like, the idea of like going through the amount of research that I did just to do this episode. Yeah, never again will I have to watch this much streaming content. But that's not to say this is worse. I know that this isn't any better than streaming. I'm like, you know, for me, I was watching Ethan Klein stuff and I was like, why am I doing this? But anyways, I was confused. I didn't know why people were saying this. So I kind of like, you know, ignored. I was like, you know, whatever. It's the internet. People think there's like an imminent Zionist heel turn he's going to make. And, you know, I kind of felt like, sure, he has his reservations, but there's nothing like an actual genocide being committed by a regime that you deem is genocidal to make you feel silly complaining about people putting air quotes around Israeli salad or whatever. So I was like, whatever reservations will surely be gone at some point, because he's going to be so disgusted as he was, in that video about what the Israeli government is doing. So I didn't worry about it. And then I don't know what the fuck happened, but all of a sudden I started seeing this kind of shit.
Day, my friends. We are going to play the exciting game here. You at home, play along. We're going to play, is it Twitch or is it a terrorist? Let's take a look here, guys.
So for those of you listening, now he has two images next to each other. One is Osama bin Laden and one is Hassan Piker. And so clearly I missed whatever the fuck happened. I was like, how did we get here? What is going on with this guy? And so I started doing research and, and trying to find out what happened to make Ethan's brain do this. I had to look at a bunch of clips, and I found one, ironically, with the help of his wife, Hila, who posted a list of clips in which he was actually pro-Palestine on their own subreddit. She had posted that. I was like, oh, this seems like a good resource. And I think I found one that explains pretty much everything going on in his brain.
So hard to pull myself
this is from
to some kind
March
of central
2nd.
ground where we can have a real conversation about this stuff. I'm pulled myself all the way to, outright saying that it's apartheid, that it's genocide, that the Israeli government is committing. And so, but you still want to call me a racist and a genocide and a Zionist. Why would you call me a Zionist if it wasn't just, oh, you're a fucking Jew? When I have said all the things that you want to hear from me, I want to meet you right in the fucking middle, and you still spit in my face. So give me a fucking break. Who's the problem? Scumbag. Scumbag. And you know what? I don't want to call out this because I'm going to say this because it pissed me the fuck off. And being an anti-Semite openly and proudly is now likes on Twitter. Frogan, she tweeted out, she goes, I have a problem with my Zionist therapist. Just call him a fucking Jew. I'm sorry, but you can't talk like that about any other fucking minority. I had a problem with my Zionist therapist. What'd you taught your Zionist therapist?
So I think I've figured it out. I think I understand there are two things that made Ethan this way. One, not knowing anything about Zionism or Israel. And two, Frogan, who is our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, please welcome our most moral guest this episode. It is the streamer, Frogan. Hey.
Watching that was such a wild ride.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
Especially the early shit, right? Where you're watching what I see is definitely real emotion. He's seeing all of these horrible images. Only 5 days after October 7th, it just kind of reminds you how quickly that shit went. How immediate the aftermath was.
Yeah. But to be honest, him and I, our beef started literally right at October 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beef started with you guys at October 7th. That's what you said? Yeah.
Everything started between him and I around October 7th. I think October 12th is when he came after me initially.
Oh, interesting. Because it's funny. I'm watching that and I'm going trying to pin the radicalization. And so I just kind of assumed as the months went on, that he was being fed a slow diet of Hasbara and had completely changed his tune. But he was already going after you then. What was he? What was going on that he was going after you then?
So what happened is on October 7th, in the early hours, I want to say it was 5 o'clock in the morning my time. Whenever I tweeted it, it was announced that Palestinians were breaking down the wall. I didn't know anything else happening. it was just like Palestinians broke down the wall. So I tweeted, leftists preach and foam at the mouth at the thought of revolution, but whenever people in the Middle East do it, it's bad.
Yeah. I think I saw that tweet. Yeah.
At that point in the time, I didn't know what was happening. All I knew, the only news that was reported was Palestinians broke down the wall.
Yeah.
And it was like 5 o'clock in the morning Eastern.
Yeah.
So then after I tweeted that, Ethan unfollowed me.
Mm.
And then I talked about it in a Discord server, and I was like, Ethan Klein unfollowed me. I'm sad. And then I made a joke. I was like, Ethan, I'll support the IDF. Just refollow me. Because like Ethan was one of my favorite content creators. Like he was genuinely one of my favorite content creators.
Yeah.
Destiny's people screenshotted it, posted it to Reddit.
Destiny, for those of you who don't know, is just another fucking guy. Who cares? He's a liberal Zionist psychopath, from what I can tell. Who he chose an angle on October 7th, and then got yelled at, and decided to make it his entire, like, the hill he was going to die on. That's from what I can tell. Yeah.
So they posted it to Reddit. Ethan saw it, and then I tweeted also. I also tweeted. I was like, not one of my favorite content creators and following me because I'm pro-Palestine. And then he quote retweeted it and was like, the reason why I unfollowed you is this, and then he did like a whole episode about it. And then from there, it's just been the spiral.
It's been crazy to kind of see it. For me, I'm watching it all kind of like after the fact. And so like I'm picking up all of this stuff as what I would consider like a normie, right? Like someone who's like doesn't really know too much about streams, and that kind of that community of like internet personalities. Like I know Hassan, and I know this one guy who does music, Anthony Fantana. He's great.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he's pretty sick. So it's been interesting to watch, because it seems like you have been such a focal point for him as like someone to attack. And I just want to, before we continue talking about this guy, tell me about yourself, and tell like our audience about you, like what kind of content you do. And
So my name is Frogan. I started doing content creation in 2021. I became a full-time content creator in 2022. I used to be a public health scientist. And then I just transitioned into streaming full-time. I mostly do just chatting. I do reacts. I do commentary, mostly on like reality TV. I barely talk politics, but like whenever October 7th happened, it be sprinkled in. Because I feel like growing up Lebanese, everything happening in the Middle East is like the first like political issue you learn growing up. My dad had Al Jazeera on 24/7. So I was like, okay, like this is something I actually feel knowledgeable about, and I feel like I could actually talk about it. But even then, like politics right now is not a focal point for me, but just a sprinkle of politics.
That's interesting. I mean, I feel like this is not an uncommon story, at least with a lot of the people who make content. Like in that world, there's a bunch of people I know, and myself included. Like before this podcast, my other podcasts are about Sopranos rewatch podcast, and now it's a Mad Men rewatch podcast. It's like, and that's not to say that I don't talk politics, or that I haven't in the past. I worked for AJ Plus, which is like Al Jazeera's online channel. I've been, an anti-Zionist Jew for a long time. And but it just wasn't a thing that is a niche thing. Being an anti-Zionist Jew, it was like there was already so many layers of like knowledge you had to have in order for anyone to understand that, type of content, that I was like,
Right.
well, who would I be making this for? Like 15 other anti-Zionist Jews. And then after the 7th, a lot of people changed. One of my favorite content creators on YouTube, Indy Nile. I don't know if you've seen Indy Nile's stuff. Palestinian, who I think he lives in, I want to say the Netherlands, but I don't know, somewhere in Europe. And he was talking about reality shows on his channel, and he's does drag, amazing drag. And then ever since the 7th, he like really started making these incredible video essays about Palestine and about Zionism and all that stuff. And it's like, for a lot of people, especially if you're Arab, if you're Palestinian, like you're forced into being political because you see with your own eyes stuff that is blatantly racist, and that if roles were reversed, the entire world would be outraged. The Western world would be outraged. Like if it were Jews, 2.3 million Jews in a concentration camp in Gaza being bombed to death. So it's like, it's interesting, just that you're like, hey, I was doing about content about reality shows, and fucking then this started happening, and you start getting attacked by this guy. So it kind of it seems to have continued from there. You were making pro-Palestine posts and talking about it, and at some point, have you and Ethan, have you ever had a conversation?
No. Mm-mm.
Crazy. Well, it's I want to say it's just so, it's kind of like blatantly racist that he just made you his focal point of like what a terrorist sympathizer is. Like you and Hassan seem to be the ones he will not stop talking about.
It's insane. Like, so, like watching like the I don't want to say downfall, but like basically the end of like Leftovers, like all of October. I was like, oh, like it was insane because he kept bringing me up on Leftovers as well. I think the final episode was like an impromptu one on Hassan's stream where he brought Ethan on, and it was just like, one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way is he said that he doesn't think that Palestinians and Israelis could exist in like a one-state solution.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. I think he said that the Palestinians
would kill all the Jews.
Yes. And I was like, okay, I'm just like, then what the fuck do you want the solution to be?
Yeah.
Like,
well, so yes, keep going on that.
Like obviously, like a one state solution. I think everybody could coexist. Like, granted, it would take work, but I don't think they'd be like Palestinians killing anybody because of it. You know what I mean? But after that, I was just like, you know what? Fuck this guy. Yeah. I was like, like I don't know. Like, obviously, like he talks about like feeling bad about the genocide, but it's just like I just don't know where he stands. But so after like in November, he kind of like calmed down for a bit, and then in February, I went to therapy for the first time in like 5 years because I had a traumatic experience at therapy where my therapist was a Zionist. Yes. You know how like whenever you're in therapy, you give them like your background lore, and you're like, oh, like my dad fled Lebanon in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I'm Israeli. Do you have an issue with that? And I was like, no. But then her question started being like, do you have any resentment towards your religion because of the things your dad has done to you? When I never even brought that up.
What?
Like, it just like shit like that. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Next therapy session, I was like, okay, I'm Arab. Do you have an issue with me? I reversed the question. I was like, oh, so now you're reversing it on me. And then I just like stopped going to therapy. That was the background story for that.
But you know what's interesting about this is that that he took such offense at this tweet. Well, number one, it's like, again, it's showing this complete ignorance of what Zionism is. He's constantly like, from what I've seen, he just keeps conflating Zionism and being Jewish as like the same thing. And, you know, he claims to like, you know, have a working definition of Zionism, but it's completely devoid of any historical context. It's like his definition of Zionism seems to be it just means that you believe that there should be a Jewish state, not that there should be a Jewish state in Palestine, not that all of Palestine belongs to the Jews, not that therefore ethnic cleansing is justified because it is part of the belief that in order to have a Jewish state, you need an ethnic demographic majority. Like, it's just like, oh, it's as simple as that. He just, you know, he has no he has no real working definition of Zionism.
Right.
It also, what's interesting about it is, you know how many people we have had on this podcast say have almost the exact same story? We had Emma Vigeland came on this podcast, talked about the exact same thing. She was talking to her therapist about, you know, what was going on, you know, in Gaza. And apropos of nothing, her therapist was just like, you know, well, I love Israel, and something along the lines of like, well, I just want you to know I would die for Israel, or some. I believe that was her story. It could be someone else's. There's a few
the one
people.
I just said was from 5 years ago. Like, that was from 2019. And then the reason why I tweeted about it again was because I started therapy again, and like, obviously talking about Palestine was something I was going to talk about in therapy, and my therapist was like, yeah, I just don't care about what's happening over there. To me, it's just another place in the world.
Beautiful.
And I was just like, and
How
this was in
sweet.
this was in February 2024, and I was just like, I feel like I'm going batshit crazy. I'm like, I thought I finally found like another good therapist, and she just unleashes that on me because I waited a couple sessions to bring it up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and so then I tweeted about like my frustrations, and he saw the tweet, and he was like, oh, that's when like the anti-Semitism claim started against me, where he was
Right.
like, just say she's Jewish, and then like whenever he did that, I became the face of Stop Anti-Semitism on Twitter. They made like a whole post about me.
Yeah.
And that was a disaster.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, because like I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not. I never have been.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a very I want to say understanding environment where like we were knowledgeable. Okay, I've never conflated Judaism with Zionism. Still don't.
Yeah.
Never going to.
Which is a thing that is like is blatantly anti-Semitic that Zionists do all the time.
Yeah, it's just like it's insane. But so that happened, and then after that, it chilled off for a while, and then September. This one's kind of my fault because like I tweeted. Because he tweeted about 9/11. He posted about 9/11 some dumb shit. And I forgot what he said. And I just quote retweeted the tweet I saw with his screenshot of his Instagram story. And I was like, this motherfucker never shuts up.
Yeah. I saw that. And from there, just an entire meltdown of just kind of, again, where you are, you know, the target of not just him, but also like his community and also all of the like Destiny guys who apparently are boosting him and all this stuff. And it just seems, I mean, it seems like what you represent to him is, if I'm being cynical about it, is a perfect avatar for to normalize this idea that Arabs are racist or Arabs are anti-Semitic. You know, like you are someone who is what I would say is like a normal person in who happens to be Arab. So you have this like understanding of what racism is, because you're like, oh, look, it's an apartheid state where all the Arabs are forced to bend to the will of the Israeli government, and yeah, but because of that, you know, you'll shitpost. You write something funny and glib. You did this really great thing at TwitchCon, which I think led to you being banned. Is that right?
Yes. Oh my God. Like, it's genuinely the dumbest shit. Oh, I like, okay.
Yeah.
So we started planning for the panel in June. Okay. And we wanted to do something like fun and interactive because we got the opportunity to do our podcast I have called Arabs live at TwitchCon. So we came up with the Habibi tier list, which if you're on the internet, you've seen like black content creators do like who could say the N-word pass, or who's invited to the cookout.
Yes.
Who could use AAVE. Like it's essentially our twist on it, but Arab.
Right.
So we were trying to make meme tiers. So we had 5 tiers. We had Arab, Arab coded, asks permission, thinks it's a slur, and loves Sabra.
Right. And this was who gets the Habibi pass.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And it was you would put different content creators based on like how you would perceive whether or not it's sort of like how Islamophobic they might be, or how deeply uncomfortable they are with Arabs. That was the feeling that
it was more so just like it was a meme tier list. It was more so just like because Habibi obviously is just like a term of endearment. It's like my love, darling, whatever.
Yeah.
Like people use it for their friends, family, significant others. So we were just like it literally had no meaning. It was just us like fucking around, honestly.
Yeah.
With the love Sabra tier, that's what caused the most controversy.
Because Ethan apparently loves Sabra, which is one of the like most insane things about this story is the amount of like caping he does for this very mid fucking hummus brand from Israel. It's like for anyone who's had it, it's just like the most Wonder Bread fucking type of hummus that is out there. It's not to say that it's like it tastes like poison, although it does support Israeli apartheid. But it's like he was really mad about Love Sabra. It's
shitty. It's a shitty hummus. And unfortunately, it's like the standard of hummus in America.
Yes.
And I'm just like, get it from like a Middle Eastern place. Like it'll taste significantly better.
Trader Joe's is better. Go to Trader Joe's. They do a Mediterranean hummus. It's better than fucking Sabra.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Myself and Arabs, Raf and Capri, we did like a blind hummus taste test earlier this year in March, I want to say.
Yeah.
And Sabra was our least rated.
Yeah.
It was our least rated. So like it was basically a meme from that too. And then like somebody told me, I have tweets from like 2016 shitting on Sabra hummus. Like this shit runs deep.
Yeah. I've been hated Sabra.
Yeah. This is not anything new. I fuck that shit. So then,
if I see Sabra, it's on site.
It's just so gross.
Yeah. It's nasty.
So we thought nothing of, like, we were like, whatever. And then he made a video on his YouTube channel talking about how the tier list was Arab good, Jew bad, and that Sabra is an Israeli person or a Jewish person born in Israel.
Right, which
I didn't know.
Yeah, I know. That's when I knew he was like bad faith as fuck, because I was just like, literally nobody knows that except if you are like Jewish and into this, like not just Jewish, but you have to be like have known about Israel, you know, like nobody knows that Sabra is a term for a person born in Israel. That's what it means. It is like it's a mark of distinction ever since, you know, the 60s. People would, you know, be like, Americans would be like, oh, he's a Sabra, just like, isn't that cool? He's born in an apartheid state.
Yeah, I didn't know that until he said that, and I was like, first of all, grammatically, it doesn't even make sense. Love Sabra.
Yeah.
So I genuinely thought it was gonna blow over.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm in Vegas. Because I was in Vegas when the video dropped. I was driving for a music festival. I was going to When We Were Young Fest. So I was like off my phone kind of mostly the weekend. But like honestly, I started tweeting back. I was like, you know what? Fuck this motherfucker. Because he came after Raf, who is Arab Jewish. And he basically called him the Candace Owens of Jews. And I was just like, dude, I'm like, grow the fuck up. I'm like, just because he's anti-Zionist and Jewish doesn't mean you can call him the Candace Owens of Jewish people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm like, okay, they're going after my friends. he's like posting them to his Instagram story. He posted Capri to his Instagram story, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm done. I'm like, I feel like I was just like quiet the entire year, just like not doing anything, like trying to like
Do your thing.
Yeah, do my thing. I'm just like, I don't want to like, what's the term where you just beat the hornet's nest or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to do any of that, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm just like, I'm done. I'm just like, he's going like after people I like love and care about now. I'm just like game fucking over.
Yeah.
But so I had a few tweets up, and we were basically communicating through. I tweeted, he screenshotted it, responded to it.
This is
blah blah. Like, it was
this would be a romantic comedy if it wasn't so racist.
Yeah, I'm like, why is this man so obsessed with me?
Yeah, why is he so obsessed with you?
And I tweeted, I was like, whenever I manifested a man being obsessed with me, I did not mean Ethan Klein. But like, obviously that's a joke, and he took that to heart.
Of course.
But yeah, so I was like, whatever. Then I'm like I'm sitting, and I get an email from Twitch, and it was like, you're banned for 30 days. And I was like, what? I was like, 30 fucking days. I literally just like sat in my car for 2 hours staring off into the distance. So I was like, 30 days. And then I was with Capri, and then he was like, wait, let me check if I got banned too. He got banned too. And then like we called everybody. We called Vio, Denims, and Raph.
Yeah.
And then
Were you all banned?
all of us were banned.
Wow.
Everybody on the panel was banned.
Yeah. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So I was just like, what am I going to do? Because this is my full-time job.
Right. Yeah. This is your
mean?
livelihood. And it's like
Yeah.
every minute you're spending not streaming is money that, that's rent.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I knew this was some bullshit whenever the ADL put a statement out against me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, they met with Twitch that day.
Yes.
And got us banned.
Yes.
And they thanked Twitch for standing against my blatant anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need them to be so fucking real. I was like, I'm like, what? I was like, my mind was blown. I was just like, I was just like, I didn't even know what to do. Like, I was just like in shock, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy too, because you see the way in which, like, one of the things that has been, I think, not just a prime motivator for Ethan, but for, speaking in general about it, like a lot of people who I know, who I've tried to like talk sense to since October 7th, prime motivators has been their fear of anti-Semitism to a point where they're willing to like almost use the idea that someone could be anti-Semitic in order to keep them on, keep the blinders on, in order to not at all look at this situation with any kind of sense of scale. Because they, I know people have just been doing nothing since the 7th, but consuming media that is telling them Jews are not safe. You are not safe in your country. Look at the colleges, look at these tweets, look at these streamers, look at the way that Zionism is used as a slur, all of this stuff. And you see this like fear of anti-Semitism being used so cynically by Zionists. And I'm not talking like Ethan Klein specifically. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about like Zionist institutions like the ADL. And I say that very specifically. I'm not talking Jewish I'm talking about specifically. It is a Zionist institution. It has been a Zionist institution for most of my life, being something that exists to cape for Israel and to conflate Zionism with Judaism. And these institutions have power. These are not like fucking, you look at like the difference between the ADL and say CARE, right? Mm-hmm. Like CARE exists, but no one, not even close to what the ADL can do. And you see that kind of institutional power, and it really makes me start going like, people need to understand that, like, when they're talking about a fear of anti-Semitism, they're talking about something that is like so desperate, the disparity between the institutional power that anti-Semitism has and the institutional power that Islamophobia or anti-Arab bigotry or anti-black bigotry, all this. It's like apples and fucking oranges,
Right.
and so it really it blows my mind when people, especially ever since the 7th, have talked about anti-Semitism as if it's even close to being in the same universe as anti-blackness or as Islamophobia or anti-Arab racism. It's like there are anti-Semites that does exist. You're not gonna not get a job because you're a Jew in America. You're not gonna not be able to get housing. There's no redlining. Like people, I think, really. There's a great clip that I want to play of Norman Finkelstein talking to somebody who I don't know him, but I thought he was doing a bit at first
God.
about anti-Semitism, and so let me just play you this, and I think it's indicative. I think it's a good point.
I think it's pretty undeniable, at least from my own experience, that there is very rampant anti-Semitism in the United States, at least.
That's your experience?
That has been my experience.
Are you Jewish?
I'm half Jewish, but it's not necessarily that it's directed at me, but people growing up, slurs against other races aren't tolerated, but slurs against Jews.
I don't know if I'm just like too online now, but I swear to God, I was like, oh, he's doing a bit and this is really funny. To ask this question to Norman Finkelstein, but no, this guy is dead serious.
I would hear pretty regularly, or lots of Jew jokes where you wouldn't be able to make black jokes.
I don't agree with that at all. First of all, there was an era in which one calculated anti-Semitism not by a person's thoughts, because you can't control a person's thoughts. And even you can't control your thoughts. And even you probably can't figure out what's your quote-unquote real motive for whatever you do. Are you interviewing me now because of a sincere inquiry into the life of the mind? Or does it have an egotistical component? Or does it go back to something your mother said when you were 5 years old? The human psyche is very complicated, and it's not susceptible to easy analysis or control. So there was an era where nobody ever thought about those things. When you talked about anti-Semitism, it meant, does it affect your job opportunities? Does it affect your access to certain institutions of higher education? Does it affect where you're going to live? Does it affect negatively your interactions with the law? That's what anti-Semitism meant. They were quantifiable, palpable, lucid expressions of this phobia, whatever you want to call anti-Semitism, okay? By that reckoning, can you name me a place in the United States where a Jew would have trouble purchasing a home or renting an apartment? Name me one place. I'd be curious. Can you name me one university, one college, one in the whole United States where a Jew would have trouble getting in because he or she was Jewish? One. Could you name me one profession? Does the medical profession discriminate against Jews? There's a legal profession. I mean, that was once a problem. That's why Jewish law firms are created, because they couldn't get into the white shoe WASP law firms. Does that exist anymore? So this is just completely and totally ridiculous.
First, I fucking love this man so much. I mean, everything he said there, I think, is just, I think it's perfect, because there does seem to be this like conflation of like, that to be quote racist against Jews, to be anti-Semitic, means specifically things like or it's more that like being anti-Semitic is something that you sense in someone's deep secret heart. And so like what ends up happening is we just kind of, we read into people and we read into their thoughts and we go, well, what does Frogan really think? Frogan's sitting there talking about Israel all the time. Why is that? You know, what does it mean that Frogan cares about this issue? You know, what does she mean?
My family's being actively bombed right now.
Yeah, right. It's like, no, I think it's bigger than that, Frogan. I think it's bigger than that. I think it has to do with your deep, dark heart. It's this thing that I think I'm not like even unfamiliar with it, because it was something that for me kept me from wanting to talk about Israel with anyone who wasn't Jewish, because I was like, because I was afraid of what I was going to hear. In fact, you know, I've said this before, but like people could literally say my exact opinion, but if they weren't Jewish, I would be suspicious of it, because I'd be like, what do you, well, I'm like, I agree, but why are you saying that? Why do you care so much? And this view of like Zionist as a secret slur, not to say that it hasn't been used as a secret slur, that some people don't do that. Sure, of course people do that. The idea that we are going to normalize that kind of claiming of like taking the word Zionist and be like, no, it's now going to have this definition, slur. It serves one purpose, and it's to stop people from accurately pointing out what the ideological framework is that is causing what we're seeing right now in terms of a genocide in Gaza. It's like, we can't talk about the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is not Jews. The root of the problem is Zionism. It is this particular ideology. And this is something that you know, Israelis have talked about ad nauseum. This is not something new to anyone who's been talking about this. But when he was talking about institutional power, and like, you know, what is like an institutional form of anti-Semitism, you know, what's interesting to me is seeing the opposite, the institutional form of like Islamophobia and you know, anti-Arab racism. The ADL recently celebrated that Twitch has changed its terms of service so that you can be banned for calling someone a Zionist.
Yep.
Which is crazy. And I have these tweets here from the ADL. In the time of dangerously escalating anti-Semitism, we commend at Twitch for changing their policy regarding the use of Zionist as a slur and proxy for hate against Jews. We are glad Twitch acted on our recommendations to make this change. However, policy is only as strong as enforcement, and we will be vigilant and appropriately skeptical about Twitch's enforcement of this new policy. When one of the largest streamers on Twitch, Hassan Piker, spends the hours after the Amsterdam pogrom minimalizing its harm without consequence, it's clear the platform still has far to go.
So, you know what I thought about a lot, like during my ban? So Asmongold, one of the biggest streamers on the platform, he can call Palestinians inferior and say they deserve to be genocided and only gets a 2-week ban.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said that Ethan Klein loves Sabra, and they were just like, burn her! Burn her at the stake.
We put Denims, who was on the panel, in the Love Sabra tier. We put Scudish, who's a producer of Arabs, in the Love Sabra tier.
Yeah.
We put Jinxie. I think we put Asmongold, and then we put Sneeko. And it's just like, obviously, there are people that claim to be pro-Palestine that are anti-Semitic, and I feel like it ruins the movement. People like Sneeko, people like Jackson Hinkle, it ruins the movement.
Yes.
But these aren't this isn't like the common thought of like everybody that's in the pro-Palestinian movement.
Yes.
Like obviously anti-Semitism is a real issue that people deal with, but I feel like watering it down to criticism of Israel is very, very harmful.
Oh, 100%. It is extremely harmful, especially if you're someone who, as Ethan claims he is, like believes that there's a genocide happening, believes that Israel is an apartheid state. These are things that he said previously that he believes. And I think, we talked about this earlier, his talking about a one state as like not something that can happen.
Yeah.
What's really interesting to me, and I think what I've like learned from doing this incredibly tedious research on this fucking guy, is that he was not exposed to that much like Israel-Palestine stuff before this. Like I think he
lived in Israel.
Yeah, no, he lived in Israel.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He lived in Israel. He's married to an Israeli woman. He is someone who I think in general has kind of not had to grapple with the realities beyond kind of like knowing basically like, there's some bad stuff going on over there. Very liberal Zionist.
Yeah.
This is like a classic liberal Zionist thing where you're the one who says it's complicated. You're not the one who says like, no, it's clear. Palestinians are the devil and need to be destroyed. You're the one who says, no, it's very complicated. There's a lot of factors, a lot of what have yous, a lot of whatnots. And, the reason why he, from what I can tell, and I don't want to get too deep into his psychology, although what is this other than that? What I can tell is like he is, a lot of the resentment comes from the fact that, like he said in the clip before he called you out for breaking up with your therapist, was like, I've said all the things, I called Israel an apartheid state. I called this a genocide. I've said all the things you want me to say, and yet it's not enough. You call me a Zionist. And the reason why anyone would still call him a Zionist is because at the end of the day, you're only halfway there when you're admitting that it's apartheid. The other half is realizing you have to do something about it, and you have to allow people who are doing something about it to have the space and not try to cut them off at the head at every single opportunity.
Right.
And I think with him, it's like this, why would people hate me when I mostly agree? Why do I have to agree 100%? And it's like, the reason why liberal Zionism is so abhorrent to, I think, a lot of us is because you recognize, there's no, that that this is apartheid, and you're saying, but it has to be. You're saying, well, we have no other choice. They're monsters. We cannot live side by side with them. And it's like, so it'd be one thing to be a genocide denier. It's another thing to be like someone who recognizes that there's a genocide and is like, I'm going to make my role trying to deplatform all the people who are trying to get the word out.
And how they're all Middle Eastern.
Yeah, very specifically.
Like it blows my mind that like Raf, like I said, is a Lebanese Jewish man, got banned for anti-Semitism.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is a thing.
Blew my fucking mind.
Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, it's only part way of protection. Being Jewish and talking about this will protect you part of the way. But you see, like in Germany, like it's something like 1/4 of the people who are arrested in Germany for protesting against Israel. A quarter of them are Jewish, and it's like, obviously vastly disproportionate to their, actual like size, the demographic percentage. And so it's like, you see this all the time where it's like the people who are going to be harmed are also going to be Jews. So you kind of go like, well, what is actually, what's the point here? But yeah, seeing some of like the way in which Ethan is like absorbed all of this Hasbara has been wild, especially because, like, again, I only came in knowing those clips from before where it seemed like he had some sort of moral clarity. And then, like, when I asked people, like, hey, can some people send me some, like, what's he been saying? And I just got a fuck ton of shit from people. Like, everyone was just like, oh, I got a lot of videos, dog. There's whole accounts dedicated to, like, just clocking different, like, weird things that he has said on his various platforms. And, like, the subreddit, like, H3 Snark is, like, incredible. They're like, oh, don't worry, we have, it's like they're preparing an ICC fucking, like, trial. It's like International Criminal Court for content creators.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'll just play a little bit of some of this shit he's been saying.
To, like, from the river to the sea literally is the saying that we need all of Israel must be ours.
See, I think that's part of the problem, is that people don't necessarily understand what some of this stuff means.
That is part of the problem. That is actually,
and they're part of the problem. They are the problem.
It was like, yes, very much. You're right. That's part of the problem. I just don't think you've correctly identified who doesn't know what any of this shit means.
I feel like people are so deluded. They'll look at something like from the river to the sea and be like, oh no, that doesn't mean that they want to, they just want to create a secular state and peacefully live with Israelis. By the way, segregation is not real. There's 20% of the population in Israel is Palestinian, full citizens, integrated in all levels of work and life there.
I mean, like, so this is like Hasbara 101 stuff. Right, like this is, I think, what blows my mind about it is because I'm just like, oh God, you're now going into, you had just said in clips previous, Israel is an apartheid state, and then you're just this like, well, by the way, there's no segregation that happens.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense.
What does apartheid mean then? And I'm sure he's talking about, within the legal borders of Israel in 48. But, like, again, to even say there's no segregation, you are lying. That's not true.
If there was no segregation, why are there checkpoints?
Right.
Why are there separate roads?
Yes. And
like,
within 48, there's all sorts of segregation in terms of, like, housing. I mean, there's redlining. There's all sorts of different ways in which the Israeli Arab citizens, as they call them, because they will not officially recognize anything called Palestine, so they are Israeli Arabs. They deal with massive amounts of discrimination. It is an insane thing to say, especially as someone who has lived there, that there is no discrimination against them. Fucking wild.
States is not going to happen, and I don't think it's a realistic idea either. Sorry. I think it's kind of silly to even pretend like that's not just a genocide of the Jews there. If there's a state of Palestine, it makes sense. But if you're in one state...
Again, it's just like...
But, like,
it's just like, that's just a genocide of the Jews. This idea of, like, we cannot solve apartheid or this current genocide, because if we do, then we're the ones who get genocided, is just like, he wonders why people yell at him. It's like, yeah, this is why, bro. This is why. It's because at the end of the day,
it's an insane take. It's like genuinely fucking crazy.
It's genuinely crazy. It's genuinely crazy to be like, we cannot, there's nothing that we can do about this. That this is, it must be a perpetual state of affairs. And it also points out, I think, the obvious, which is that, like, at the end of the day, he's like, the only answer here, he says 2 states. And it's like, I think he knows full well that is not going to happen.
Right.
So the only answer here is ethnic cleansing and genocide. And it's him allowing for it because at the end of the day, and this is not uncommon, it's not just him, but, the value of human life here goes far in favor of the loves Sabra category, if you know what I mean. Like, for him specifically, it's like, it's Jews are the more worthy of the land, yeah, it's crazy.
All that's going to happen is, like, everybody is trying to bring as many people there as possible. And like by the time
he's talking about right of return there, by the way. Like he's talking about, he's trying to map out what would happen if, there was one state. And he's like, all of a sudden everyone would move there. And now he's talking about if there was a Jews as a demographic minority within Israel, which is a really interesting question, I think, for a liberal Zionist, because you go like, if Jews are a minority within Israel, does that make it, for you, is that the same as genocide? You know what I mean? Like, are you saying it is genocidal to not have ethnic control of a land? Like, to me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's ethno-fascism. If that's what you believe, then you're not a liberal person. You're not a progressive person. You're just like, no, it has to be an ethno state. That's crazy, dog.
And it's like, he was saying the other day, like, he agrees like 95% with us. It's just like, if you agree 95%, why are you trying to get everybody deplatformed?
Exactly. And I think, the answer to that is that he believes it is that anti-Semitism is the worst possible thing in the world. Worse than genocide is just people saying coded anti-Semitic messages. And like for him, I think he just looks at it and he goes like, I'm going to make this my thing because the work I would have to do internally in order to like be someone who is for ending Israel, which is what he would, that's how he would define one state in which everyone has the right to vote. Like that's too much work to do internally. So instead he needs to have an enemy, and he's made it you and Hassan for some reason. I don't really know why. It could be anything, Frogan. I really think it could be anything.
There, frankly, are a lot of.
Go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, it's crazy because I started watching him because of Frenemies with Trisha, and I started watching him because of Leftovers with Hassan.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, I had like a manifestation list of people I wanted to collab with, and he was like at the top of the list. But I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it in this way. You know what I mean?
No, be careful what you wish for.
I know.
Next time, don't wish for that when you have the monkey's paw. You know what I mean?
No, and like I said before, it's not like I didn't know he was Jewish. It's not like I didn't know Hila was in the IDF. It's not like I didn't know they didn't live in Israel.
Right. You just liked a content creator because you assumed that they'd be normal if this happened.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's even talked about Palestine briefly years ago, and I was like, okay, like, they're based, I guess, like,
yeah,
go off. I thought they were, like, especially, like, with, like, Hila being in the IDF, I thought she was, like, one of the people that were, like, reformed and, like, knows it's bad and whatever.
Right.
But then, like I said, after October 7th, it was, like, mask off.
Yeah.
So I couldn't support this person anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like I suddenly became aware of like her presence in the IDF or like their Judaism. Like I'm like, dude, like I need him to be fucking real.
Yeah.
But like I just don't know what else to say.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, who would have thought that they would have gone this deep in? Let's see how much deeper they go.
Palestinians, right, in the area, and once the Palestinians outnumber the Jews, basically, anything is fair game for the Jews. Anything. 1948, the War of Independence is called in Israel. Others know it as the Arab-Israeli War.
And I was
After
say the
partition plan,
Nakba.
the split, the Palestine into part Arab, part Jewish. As many of you probably know, every Arab country around Israel waged a war of annihilation to basically prevent the state from being formed.
Yeah, which is again total. This is more Hasbara 101. This idea of like the creation of the state of Israel and the Nakba being something that was carried out because of the invasion of all Arab states to try to destroy the Jewish people. Is just basic Hasbara shit.
Go listen to Hassan. Actually, you know what? Go listen to Hassan. People say, I need to go listen to Hassan. This is bullshit. Please, go listen to Hassan. who fucking, by the way, yells at people in chat, calls them Zionist genocidal monsters for suggesting that the hospital wasn't bombed. Okay.
There's nothing that
How about this?
there's nothing that makes me, I think, respect Hassan more than his open contempt for the piggies. We have the same thing. It's like I think I think this is the problem actually with Ethan is I think he needs to have a little bit more contempt for the opinions of his chat. That way he doesn't take things so personally and doesn't I feel like he was made into this by the fact that his chat exists and he was just getting in fights with people in his chat, and more it just made him more and more pro-Israel. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it seems like, dog. Just pretend they don't exist or something, or stop streaming. I don't know what the fuck to tell you.
Okay.
He wants an echo chamber of chat.
Yes.
No
straight up.
criticism.
Yeah, that's what, and I mean, fine, but fucking, you let them radicalize you first. What the fuck are you doing? Take a note from Hassan. Just be like, hey, shut up, hogs. I mean, take a note from, that's what we do. That's fun.
At IDF, which is the same fucking thing that Hassan's fans come and tell me. And you know what? I lose fans, I lose subs, I lose memberships every time I say this. And I gotta stand on my principles, man. My take was, let's be a little thoughtful of Jewish people. That's all I want is a conversation. I don't want to be shouted at that I'm a Zionist. You're a fucking anti-Semitic person. I know, because being racist is the worst thing in your life. It's the worst thing you can be in your world.
Is that about me?
And yet here we are.
It might be. I don't know. Probably. At this point, I just assume he's talking to you, Frogan. Well, him being racist is the worst thing you can be in your world. I was like, I think in your world too, at least at some point, in your world, you also would have thought being racist was the worst thing you could be.
I don't understand why he's acting like a saint when he can look at literally people are pulling up clips of his racist past from him dropping the N-word.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is it's just like you can't. It's the internet, man.
I know. It's like you have a footprint. Like everybody knows the kind of person you were.
Do not claim to be perfect here, dog. Please.
Calling me a Zionist. And as far as Jews go, I'm about as un-Jewish as they come. Okay? I don't fucking care about any of that shit.
I feel like you care a little bit about some of this shit. Yeah, it is. It's wild to watch, and it's like this is not someone who I even really wanted to do any episode about it because I was just like I don't know, like people. When you're streaming all day, I'm sure you say a fucking 1,000 things. It's like for me, I compare it to podcasting. You're podcasting a couple hours a week. At some point, you're going to listen to an old podcast. You're like, what the fuck did I say? Oh, okay. The context for that is important, but I think it's like, for him, I just was like, I give him the benefit of the doubt, even if he had just been like starting drama with y'all and just kind of like yelling at you and there'd just been, I think I would have ignored it completely. Yeah. I think I would have been like, hey, this is no different than what's been happening on the internet for forever. Everyone gets into fights. YouTube drama exists. Yeah. Whatever. But the difference was when I started seeing Ethan using institutional muscle in order to silence the voices. That's when I said, this is a topic we should cover here on this show, because I think it points out the stark difference between, how we treat Islamophobia, how we treat, anti-Arab racism, and then how we treat fucking anti-Semitism. Yeah. It's just like the amount of fucks that Western institutions give about, anti-Semitism, or what is essentially perceived anti-Semitism, which is not most of the time anti-Semitism when it comes to Israel. They give more fucks. It is something that I think, is incredibly unhelpful for the rest of the Jews, at least in my opinion, because I'm just like, all this does is strengthen right-wing anti-Semites' views of Jews, which is that Jews are, cry bullies who are secretly control the world. Like, all it does is make people actually fucking anti-Semitic. And I've said this from the beginning, that I just I can't stand this idea that like the state going out, pretending to claim we are all Jews, we are the avatar for every Jew in the world, then is going to act in the most callous, disgusting, cynical, racist way possible, and make us all, painted with this brush. I fucking hate it. But yeah, just in terms of like, what have you been dealing with regarding this kind of, being called out by stopantisemitism.org, or being called out by name by the ADL? Like, what is that done?
It's crazy. Like, I mean, I'm obviously getting accused of being anti-Semitic, and whenever people see somebody piling on somebody they think they don't like, it's just like it becomes a pile on, it becomes a snowball. I mean, when they came after my livelihood, I'm just like, okay, like this shit's actually serious.
Yeah.
Whenever they put me on Stop Anti-Semitism in March, I was like kind of freaking out because like I'm like, this is damaging.
Yeah.
The difference between Ethan and I is whenever I call him a Zionist, it's because I have basis to call him a Zionist, and I know how harmful it is to call somebody something when they aren't that.
Yes.
Whereas when he's calling me an anti-Semite, he has no basis.
Yeah.
It's all like he's getting this information from a fucking subreddit and like creating dog whistles that I didn't even know existed to try to pin me as an anti-Semite.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially hard because like the amount of like dog whistles and or tropes that are just kind of like not invented, but almost like you put a spotlight on something that people are like, I didn't know it was a trope. It was like fucking Greta Thunberg like saying free Palestine, and she's got a plush like octopus, stuffed animal, and people are just like, that's a trope. She's doing anti-Semitism, and it's just like, now you're
why?
Because the octopus is an anti-Semitic animal, because Nazi cartoons show like Jewish bankers or whatever being like an octopus holding the globe. It's supposed to be. It's like,
oh, I didn't know that.
You have to really. That's the thing. Of course, you didn't know that. It doesn't matter because it's fucking bullshit. It's just a way to I'm gonna call you anti-Semitic based on stuff I just see in your background right now. First, I'll start with you. Looks like you have some sort of like Roman statue there, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, but a big thing with like white nationalists, online is like Western civilization stuff. You always tell a Nazi by how much Roman shit they have on their fucking post. So that's one. All right, what else do we have in the background? I see a kitty cat. One of the biggest criticisms of Israel is the fact that they just have like cats, fucking stray cats everywhere. It is just like a city, like they had a mouse problem at one point and they were like, let's get some cats, and then they never dealt with the cat problem. So what I see there is you saying that Israel is a pussy.
Me personally?
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
I hate cats.
Oh, okay. Well, that's also anti-Semitic because Israel loves cats. They're everywhere. What's your problem? Ostrich. That's an anti-Semitic trope. You see, the ostrich is a big bird that can't fly, just like Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a very big man, but he can't fly because he's a coward, unlike his hero brother. Let's see what else. You got all sorts of stuff. Oh, yeah. You've got a mirror. The point is that you are just an anti-Semite based on any trope that I can kind of connect with my own mind by just looking at you.
Yeah, in my head, I'm like, if I was ever blatantly anti-Semitic, let me know.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. And I think that's interesting because it is something that I feel like is a big difference between some people like Ethan and others like maybe me, which is that like I have seen people I know cross lines that I'm like, that's iffy. And for me, because I know them, or because I'm familiar in general with the kind of content that they make, I am able to put that I can take it on good faith, you know? And like, it's very, very rare when I find someone who, like, I know personally who ends up all of a sudden saying the most fucking like racist shit. Like, for the most part, I tend to take people you know, at face value and assume that there's just things that you don't know. You don't know about this octopus plushie thing. You don't know about this trope. I'm just going to assume you don't know. You know, like, I barely know. And I think, like, it's rare that it happens where I'm like, oh shit, man, this person that I've known for this long holds some really crazy views. And then October 7th happened, and pretty much every liberal Zionist I know went fucking racist as shit. And I was like, oh, it has happened. Only in that direction. I don't know. None of y'all have been anti-Semitic towards me. It's fucking crazy. No, pro-Palestine people, Arabs, anyone, like, it's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous is what I'm saying. Sorry if I yelled at you.
No, you're fine.
Okay, good.
I'm used to it at this point.
Yeah, you're like, oh, again, a Jew yelling at me. No. What else is new? You know, signed up to be yelled at by another goddamn. These fucking Jews. Oh, he's yelling at me.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's fucking insane. So your stream is back now. You're still you're back on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm back on Twitch. I've streamed a couple times since the unban. I'm kind of like dipping my toes in, you know. I'm just like,
are you what are you worried that? I mean, I assume you're worried that this could fucking happen again. Like, they're just gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that, like, Twitch isn't forever. I want to branch out to other platforms. I'm probably going to start posting on YouTube more, like, as an individual instead of my podcast as well. Because I'm just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to deal with a platform that is like listening to, like, using us as a scapegoat whenever they get the slightest pushback.
Yeah.
And then now, like, we can't even talk about something, Zionism, that personally impacts our lives.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I mean, even before October 7th happened, I mean, I'm not Palestinian, I'm Lebanese. It was something I've always cared about, but now they're bombing Lebanon. Yeah. My cousin got bombed the other day. So it's just like, I can't talk about it because, you know, I'm in fear of being banned.
Yeah. And even if you were, you know, not from Lebanon, even if you were from, you know, Iraq or, you know, I think it's insane to see, like, to wonder why any Arab person would have something to say about this issue. Mm-hmm. It's like, why do you think it's just because they see blatant anti-Arab race? It's an apartheid state that separates the Jews and the Arabs.
It's insane.
It's fucking obvious. How do people just go like, well, why do you care about it? It's just like, look.
The funny thing is, people have been telling me to go back to my country, but they're also, I mean, I'm American. I was born in America, but now they're saying I'm cosplaying as an Arab woman because I am from Michigan. And I'm half. And I'm just like,
that's amazing.
I'm like, pick something. Do you want me to go back to my country, or am I a white girl cosplaying as an Arab?
Yeah. And also, you're from Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I am from Dearborn. Dearborn is like the biggest Arab population in America.
I was gonna say, you're from the Middle East of America.
Literally. So it's just like although I'm half white, I feel like, even with my mom, to be quite honest, it's like, I feel like I identify more with my Arab side because that's a culture we were raised in.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
and it's, it's crazy to me. I mean, obviously, these are all just like excuses that people use in order to say, like, oh, well, this is a way. It's a way to delegitimize your criticism. It's just like, oh, the only reason you're doing this is because, it's like, it's a way of like racializing something that is like, I think one thing we can all agree with as like people who are pro-Palestine is like, the constant racialization is one of the big issues we have here.
Yes.
I don't think you need to be Arab, Jewish, Palestinian, anything. You just need to be a human being.
Exactly.
To look at this and go, this genocide wrong.
And it's funny because like I feel like you see people like growing up, they're like, if I was alive during like a genocide, like I would be doing X, Y, Z to make sure it's not happening.
Yes.
And then the same people that have said that are like actively supporting a genocide that's happening. It's just like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, it's one of the things I think that Aaron Bushnell actually said. He either posted it or he said it in the video before he, self-immolated in protest of the genocide, was that, if you've ever said to yourself, if you've ever asked yourself, what would I do if my country was committing a genocide? The answer is you're doing it right now. And I think that is like, it's 100% true. And I think a lot of people, one of the reasons they're digging deeper into it, like Ethan, is because it's just easier. it's easier, and it's so much of all of this is based on ego. Like the amount of fucking times, like when people were sending me clips of shit that he said, like so many of the things that he said start off with a grievance he has with you or Hassan or some other fucking streamer, some other fucking person.
It's
and
like,
it's just the ego shit is what's really
literal genocide is happening.
Yes.
Put focus on that.
Yes. Stop centering yourself on this shit.
Yeah, exactly. Don't individualize it. Like do fucking something with this big platform you have instead of trying to deplatform people trying to bring light to a genocide happening. It's so stupid. It's just like, it's like, you know what? Yeah.
Because he's someone who's like, other than this, he's a likable person. I didn't watch his shit, but when I would see like random clips, I'd be like, oh yeah, that guy, he's funny. Yeah. It's just kind of like a likable guy, and he seems to be stuck in this ego spiral when it comes to this stuff, and this like paranoia that is like, I hate the paranoia thing so much because it is just, to me, it's just another I'm like watching someone being traumatized by people who are using his trauma in order to continue a genocide. It's like, it's this and like manipulating Jews to do to co-sign terrible acts or to participate in them themselves. That's way more anti-Semitic than a tear of like Habibi, Arab coded to love Sabra. That's actually anti-Semitic too. Whereas like what you're doing is fucking, you're doing bits. Yeah. And you're talking about real shit. Yeah. You're talking about actual fucking genocide. Anyways, Frogan, it was so great talking to you about this. I'm sorry that this is happening.
Thank you for having me. I hope I did okay, because like this is like honestly like my first time talking about anything. Oh wow. In public, really.
Oh shit. Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing it here on Bad Hasbara.
I'm sorry.
The world's most moral podcast. No, I really, it was, you were great. It was great talking to you, and I will actually watch your content. I will
Thank
go
you.
And I mean, I ended up watching your podcast a bit. There's a Patreon too, so it's how do you spell it? Arabs?
AYYRABS.
Because it is spelled. When I looked at it, I was like, is this pronounced Arabs? I don't know.
Yeah, like the slur.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Yeah.
I watched some of Arabs, and I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
And, we will post a link to that in the notes, as well as a link to your Patreon and the name of your Twitch channel, please. What is that?
Twitch.tv/Frogan. I'm also Frogan on all socials. Twitter and Instagram have a 0 instead of the O.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
everywhere else, Frogan.
Well, if you go to them notes and you just click, you'll see all of the links to all of your content and channels. Again, thank you so much, Frogan. You were fantastic, and please
Thank
come
you.
back. Let's talk more. Hopefully,
I will.
you stay platformed and you keep going.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. Patreon.com/badhasbara, badhasbara@gmail.com for all your questions, comments, and concerns. All right, everyone. Thanks again so much for listening. And until next time, from the river to the sea, what the fuck happened to H3H3?
Jumping jacks was us. Push-ups was us. Krav Maga us.
Hell yeah.
Karate us.